So I want to kind of tell where I really started to gain the trust with Jim real quick, because it's almost like when that happens, like the hairs were standing up on my arms, like at that point I knew. I've been involved with doing things for the homeless vet shelter here in town for multiple years. My dad was he retired from CAT after 37 years, and he wanted to do something he was very passionate about. And his passion, obviously he was a veteran, Vietnam vet, and so he became the house manager down at the homeless veteran shelter down here on Olive Street in Peoria. And when my dad finally, I think it was 7 years he was there, I'd constantly hear stories, and it'd break my heart, because I know how much, I have a great relationship with my dad. And so long story short, I started this Adopt a Vet for Christmas every year. And it has grown so big. So every year there's usually anywhere from 15 to 17 homeless vets that live in the home in Peoria, and I get them all adopted out, and we take gifts down to them. I have places that donate their time. I had a moving company donate bringing all the gifts, because it's grown so much, of getting house needs. So it wasn't just the Christmas gifts, it was a lot of house needs for the house. And they had lived on all of the stuff that we had raised for them for it kept that house running for over 6 months. And so I continue to do it because it's a passion of mine, because I'm lucky to have my dad still. A lot of people didn't come home from those wars. But they have what they call a band of brothers. And it was a group of my dad's friends, all from high school, that were all in Vietnam together. And one of them was a set of twins. And because of the age and how that could be done, only one of the brothers of the twins could go. Technically, and you couldn't have more than one from the same household, but the other twin would not leave his brother. And so it was a band of all of these guys that my dad still golfs with to this day, and they've all been wanting to do this honor flight, okay? And so I had some strings that I could pull because of all the stuff that I had done for the veterans, and a friend of mine that worked down at the Capitol building, and was able to get all of them on the honor flight together. Well, one of the twins did not come home. He died over in Vietnam. And so my dad had said to me when I said it, "What would you say about going on the honor flight?" And I said, because you have to have a guardian that goes with you, and it can't be your wife. So I knew my mom couldn't go. And my dad's like, I will only do it if and they call it my band of brothers. And I said, well, what if I tell you they're all going? And so it was a big, it was a proud moment for me, but then I got to go and experience that with my dad, which was so emotional. But I walk into the airport, and who do I see? Jim. And when I walked up to Jim and I started talking to Jim, I introduced him to my dad, and my dad's very, and he's very protective now of everything that has happened, obviously with this last attorney and everything else, and I introduce him as technically my new attorney or whatever, and of course my dad's kind of standoffish at first. And when Jim says, I do a lot of these, and I said, what do you mean you do a lot of these? He goes, I volunteer, and he has to pay that money because I believe it's like a $500 cost to be a guardian for veterans that don't have somebody to go with them, to take them out to DC and to experience the Arlington Cemetery, to experience the Vietnam Veteran War Wall, all of that stuff. And when he said that, and it's still to this day, I knew he was a good apple at that point. I knew where his heart was, and that was in helping people. But just for that same passion for the veterans that Jim has, I had, and I knew right there that it was almost like a sign from God telling me, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And when he looked at my dad, and I won't forget it, it was down in the one of the museums that we were in for the Navy. And we were downstairs and we were walking around, and he walked up to my dad and he goes, I'm making you a promise that I will take good care of her, and I will make sure what happened to her does not happen ever again. And when my dad later on the airplane said to me, I think you got a good one, that's what solidified it for me. And I don't even know if Jim knows all of that.